Hey y'all. There's been a lot of backlash this week over a proposed bill in Virginia. And so I'm sure most of you are aware with this with Delegate Kathy Tran. And I basically wanted to talk about this a little bit. This is how you really have to be very careful with what you're reading and literally using your own freaking thinking skills. This is from the New York Times, and if you will notice here, it does say this is an opinion. This is an opinion piece by an opinion columnist. Okay, that's fine. But my particular problem, my beef with this is the commitment to being disingenuous, telling us that the freaking sky is green, the ocean is not blue, and fish fly, okay? That's the problem that I have with articles like this. So I just want to break this down with you guys because I came across this while I was doing some research. So the name of the article, Fake News About Abortion in Virginia. No, Democrats aren't trying to legalize infanticide. So, under current law in Virginia, third trimester abortions are permitted when a woman's physician and two other doctors certify that continuing a pregnancy will result in a mother's death or substantially and irredeemably impair the mental or physical health of the woman. This week, Kathy Tran, a Democrat in Virginia's House of Delegates, testified in favor of a bill that would end the requirement for two extra doctors to sign off on abortions and strike the words substantially and irredeemably from the existing law. Similar legislation has been introduced in past years. Despite what you might have heard, at no point did Tran try to legalize infanticide. Okay, interesting. So now I'm going to just let you guys see the video for yourself so you can see what you see and hear.
In a pregnancy, would your bill apply if a physician was simply willing to certify that the continuation of the pregnancy would impair the mental health of the woman? How late are we talking about?
Well, so the way the suggestion that we've made in the bill is to say it's in the third trimester and at the, with the certification of the physician. So
how late in the third trimester would you be able to do that?
It's very unfortunate that our physicians, witnesses, were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your bill. How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay, but to the end of the third trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would make.
I understand that. I'm asking if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
When Tran appeared before a state house subcommittee, the Republican majority leader, Todd Gilbert, presented her with an ultra hypothetical. Now look at this wording, okay? Because this is what they do. They try to play these mind games. Outrage meaning unusual and startling, right? So it's his question that was unusual and startling, not her answer. All right, it goes on to say, Could a woman about to go into labor request an abortion if her doctor certified that she needed one for mental health reasons? Tran said that the decision would be between a woman and her doctor, but evidently taken aback by the question. Was she really taken aback, or did she just not know how to answer? Eventually allowed that it would be permitted under her bill. So she admitted that it would be allowed under her bill. Tran handled the moment poorly. She might have pointed out that the legislation is not generally written with an eye to prohibiting ridiculous and unprecedented scenarios. But why not? Why not? Why isn't it written in that way? It is inconceivable that a doctor would certify a need for an abortion while a woman is in labor. Some doctors won't even let a woman turn down a C-section if they think a baby's health is at risk. Just because something is inconceivable doesn't mean that it won't happen, okay? Just because something is inconceivable doesn't mean that there aren't people out here waiting for loopholes to make these things possible. But Tran's impolitic answer to a ludicrous question gave abortion opponents grist for an explosion of self-righteous outrage. Like, what's so ludicrous about the question? These are things that need to be discussed before things like this are put into place. And to make it seem like the burden should be on a person answering this quote unquote ludicrous question is ridiculous. Things only escalated on Wednesday when Governor Ralph Northam was asked about the uproar during an appearance on a radio show. Northam, a pediatric neurologist by training, spoke about what actually happens when a woman goes into labor with a fetus that has severe deformities and may not be viable. The infant, he said, would be delivered and kept comfortable, and the family would decide about resuscitation. So I'm going to let you guys see that clip now.
Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
I imagine that Governor Northam actually thought he was taking up for Kathy Tran, smoothing things over, when ultimately, in essence, he just exacerbated everything that people were already feeling. So this goes on to say, Northam appeared to be pointing out the absurdity of Gilbert's hypothetical. In grave circumstances, no one gets an abortion on the delivery table. But as a clip of the interview went viral, conservatives, including the Republican Senator Marco Rubio, began accusing Northam of supporting the murder of newborns. Is Marco Rubio accusing Northam of something? Or are we literally going off based off what we literally just heard? We literally just sat here and watched Northam say these things, right? It was a right-wing version of an online outrage mob warping the governor's innocuous comments into a callous declaration of evil. So it has nothing to do with what we just saw and what we just heard. It's our own warping of his words, right? Because we didn't just sit here and him admittedly say that the mother and the doctor will wrap the baby up, make the baby comfortable, and then they would decide. We didn't hear him say that. Heck no. We're just warping everything, right? Everybody is warping something. Some seemed almost gleeful at the prospect of seizing the moral high ground denied them over 2 years of rationalizing a depraved administration. You people keep saying to look at Trump getting elected to see how Hitler could be possible, tweeted the conservative pundit Eric Erickson. I'm thinking look at the sudden embrace of infanticide to see how Nazism could be possible. In some ways, the issues of trans bill is moot, seeing it was never going to pass in Virginia's Republican-controlled legislature and certainly has no chance now. See now is this kind of trying to pass the ball thing. Well, I mean, hey, it wasn't going to pass anyway. So, it couldn't have been that bad. I don't see what all the outrage is for. It was never going to pass anyway. But the debate over late-term abortion has been rekindled. For Donald Trump, who tweeted about the procedure on Thursday, it's a culture war issue he can exploit. Others on the right are genuinely sickened by what they imagine liberals want to allow, even if they also appear to be enjoying the chance to once again scold the left for its purported immorality. Under the bill's actual text, virtually any claim of impairment would suffice to meet the Act's requirements, wrote National Review's David French. Anxiety, depression, the conventional physical challenges of postpartum recovery. Any of those things could justify taking the life of a fully formed, completely viable living infant. French appears to be worried that women will seek and doctors will perform late-term abortions for trivial reasons. But there's contempt for women embedded in the idea that absent legal prohibition, someone on the verge of giving birth might instead terminate her pregnancy to avoid the brutalities of labor. No matter what the law were in real life, these things don't happen, said Francis Kinsling, president of the Center for Health Ethics and Social Policy and the former head of Catholics for a Free Choice. I'm not saying that there would not be one woman out of 20 million who decided at the 33rd week of pregnancy that she needed an abortion. And I would suggest that she probably does and have mental health problems. However, this woman is not going to find anyone who will do this. But I thought at this point we would have learned with time, you give people any type of loophole and they will take advantage. We have seen how the legalization of anything increases participation. We know with time, when you legalize something, especially something that has loopholes. And then you have the audacity to tell people that the questions that are being asked about these loopholes are just, it's just wild and, just completely out there. People will do it. People will engage. People will take advantage. And then what they're not even mentioning in this article is the fact that this bill would have removed the fact that these abortions had to be done in hospitals where legalized. They will be able to outsource them to clinics. So this, no one will find anyone that will be willing to do this. It's a lie. It's a lie. How many corrupt doctors have we seen, whether it came from doing surgeries that weren't needed? People, doctors that sell or overprescribe opioids. All type of things. So this idea that it is so wild for people to even question this is really annoying and disingenuous. So don't try to play on our intelligence. Don't do that. Okay. It goes on to say, Kisling is well known in the pro-choice movement for thinking deeply about the ethical gray area surrounding abortion. You sure? And she points out there are only about a dozen doctors in the country who perform third trimester abortions at all. And she's spoken to several of them asking specific questions about patients they've turned down. What I have learned is that all of them have limits and have declined to do abortions in certain circumstances for certain reasons, she said. The murderous abortionist Kermit Gosnell serving a life sentence in prison is an exception, but he was operating outside the law. But you're expanding this law. You're expanding this law, right? Because you just said you were trying to remove the word substantially and irredeemably from this law. Substantially meaning great or significant extent. Irredeemably meaning not able to be saved, improved, or corrected. Why would that particular wording need to be removed from this law? And even you can admit this, Mrs. Opinion Columnist. You said this at the beginning of your article. They will be removing those words substantially and irredeemably. Why? Why is that so important for this to be removed? I'll tell you why. Because the opposite of substantially and irredeemably, the antonyms for substantially and irredeemably is obscure, insignificant, minor, manageable, reformable. So you are basically admitting to the fact that a mother that has a manageable or possibly reformable condition, a mother that is suffering from potentially obscure, insignificant, and minor health and emotional health threats, will be able to be covered under this bill potentially. So for us to think that when you basically just admitted it and to say that anyone that has concerns with this bill is problematic or they're just running to say that someone is immoral, I call BS. She goes on to say, a person who is ambivalent about abortion might wonder why, if the situations put forward by Goldberg and French are so unthinkable, pro-choice people would object to laws making them illegal. But the law is a blunt instrument for making judgments about extreme and unusual contingencies. But there are pro-choice people who are objecting to this. including me. Having extra doctors sign off on each late abortion safeguards against mythical, cavalier terminations. But it means that women in anguish, urgent situations need to jump through extra hoops. Abortion opponents treat mental health exemptions as easily exploited loopholes, but one instance in which they're invoked is when a woman learns that her fetus has little chance of surviving outside of the womb and can't face for the prospect of going through labor only to watch her baby die. And so what makes this worse and what makes the loopholes even worse and what makes the possibility of corrupted doctors and physicians taking advantage of this is the fact that before, when you had 3 people that would have had to sign off on this, now you only need 1. And I think that's what makes it even much more problematic for people. And see, this is where they're really messing up. This is where they're really messing up, okay? Because me, particularly, I have always been pro-choice, okay? Now, pro-choice is not the same thing as pro-abortion. I mean pro-choice in a way of pro, that ain't none of my business. Pro, only she have to answer for those decisions that she's making, whether that be in this lifetime or the next. Pro, I'm not the one that have to raise those children, clothe nor feed them. Pro, I'm not responsible and it really don't have nothing to do with me. I've always been pro-choice in that sense of the word. But when things like this are introduced, what it does is it really alienates people. And the push for this is really odd to me. I really don't understand it because it certainly cannot be for voters. Why I say that is I don't think that Democrats pushing for late-term abortions like this with less restrictions is going to gain them more support. But what it's certainly going to do, it is going to alienate a lot of people like me who it's like, okay, I was with you, but then you go completely left. You take it too far. You double down. And not only do you do that, you turn around and slap people in the face. You make them think that they are making these things up, right? That these loopholes are completely impossible. They're completely out the door. And something is wrong with us for even questioning it, for even remotely thinking that there would be people that could possibly take advantage of things like this. So no one, including me, and the people like me who you are literally alienating, are not crazy for asking these things, for having these questions. So this is why you have to be careful with what you read in these opinion pieces. This particular piece said opinion from an opinion columnist, but a lot of times when you read these articles or you listen to these news shows, this is what they'll do. They'll sneak their opinions in there, try to make you seem like you're crazy for your suspicions when it's just not the case. So that's my thoughts on that. Leave your comments below. What do y'all think about this? Do you think that, certain people are just jumping to conclusions about assuming that there will be loopholes because nobody in their right minds would do these type of things? Or do you think that the loopholes and the questions that these people are being asked are necessary and important. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe.